Okay, so welcome to another edition of the Bare Bones. So, in this video I'm going to be looking at Men-at-Arms and Paladins. Should you have both? And why? And I'm doing this because, as you can see from this video, as I play, I've been seeing a lot of people using Men-at-Arms. And I'm like, well, is this just because they're trying to grind their way to the Paladins? Because when Paladins came out, I mean, I upgraded my Men-at-Arms to Paladins and didn't look back. So lately I've been seeing a lot of people using Paladins. A lot of people using Men-at-Arms. A lot of people using both this version over here to the left, the defensive one, and the attack one. So what I did is I went and I built a set of Men-at-Arms. I leveled them to max level. And then just to make sure I get all the benefit, I went into the unit tree and I maxed it out as much as I could. Because the unit tree honor will, in fact, buff the Paladins and the Men-at-Arms. So anything you put in the unit tree, it goes to the Paladins and the Men-at-Arms. So before I get into it, I'm going to give you some timestamps in case there's something you want to skip to specifically. The first 15 minutes of the video are basically all analytics. So I'll be going through the unit tree, which veterancy tree builds I'm going to use, and then I'm going to compare all the unit cards together, and then I'm going to compare all the bonuses that you get out of the veterancy trees, and I'll put them side by side so you can see them. And then I'm going to do my Men-at-Arms defensive build video examples, the pros and cons and what I think are of that build, and then not give anything away, and then the Men-at-Arms attack build video examples, pros and cons, and then summary recommendations, with essentially being, should you have both? Should you have both Men-at-Arms and Paladin in your build, and why? So that's being said, let's get started. Okay, so here's the unit tree. And like I said, the unit tree is good for both Paladins and Men-at-Arms. So I've maxed out as much as I could, with the exception of improved chainmail to 5. The 5th version, as you can see, is like, or as you will see anyway, is 20,000 honor. So there's more than 100,000 honor sitting here in the improved unit tree. So the first thing that comes up is toughened shields. Now, toughened shields gives you an extra 5% block of their base value. Now, what is their base value? I have no idea. But it gives you another 20%, right? After toughened shields, you can look at elite swordplay. And elite swordplay, that's another 2%, so of critical value. Again, what's the base value? No idea, but you get another 2%. And then you're going to get your armor reinforcement, and that is going to give you another 2% piercing defense for a total of 10, right? So again, the last one being 20,000 honor, the one before that 16,000. So it's pretty pricey to add all this in there. And then of course you've got improved chainmail, which gives you 3%, right? So again, 20,000 honor at the end. So when you're looking at all these things and you get all those bonuses, the numbers that I'm about to show you, they include these unit tree numbers, with the exception of course, the ones that we have no base calculation for. I'm also going to throw a few terms at you in regards to the various builds I'm going to be using. So I'm going to have the Men-at-Arms attack build, and then it's going to be color-coded green. My Paladin build is going to be color-coded white, and I'm going to have a Men-at-Arms defense build. So what do I mean when I'm talking about these? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. My Men-at-Arms attack build is going to be the top line, with, of course, the 1 from the center and 2 from the bottom. And my Men-at-Arms defense build is going to be the reverse. It's going to be the bottom line, right, with the 1 from the middle and extra block. So, and then of course the Paladin line is the one that I'm going to be using, and it's the top line. Now I'm going to be telling you what's in those lines later, but for right now, when you think of Men-at-Arms attack, Men-at-Arms defense, and the Paladin lines, this is what I'm talking about. So what are the stats? So here I've taken the 3 cards and I've cut and pasted them. Now, you'll notice that the numbers are all color-coded. So looking at the Paladin tree, the central Paladin tree, you'll see that the health of a paladin is 13% more than the health of the attack in the defense build. Right, and so you see the little green 13 and the gold 13. Those match, obviously. So if we go down the line, you'll notice that it says piercing armor penetration 5% better than the attack, 14% better than the defense. That's it's not too bad, but it's the attack difference between the men-at-arms attack and the paladins. That's not that different. You know, like it's almost negligible, pretty much, right? And the other thing that's pretty interesting is the fact that the slashing armor penetration, you know, there is none, right? So I think that has an effect later, and I'll get to that in a second. Blunt armor pen is all equal. Piercing damage, it's 14% higher than both, right? So in the damage output of the piercing, it's definitely better, right? Now, where everything gets kind of crazy is if you go and look over to the right at the defensive build, you'll notice that the defensive build has 18% more than the paladins and 12% more than the attacking build, right? And same with slashing, it's 14% more than the paladins, 7% more than the attacking build. Now, what this doesn't include, obviously, is critical value, things like that. This is the card. This doesn't seem to track for some reason, you know, your crit chance. It doesn't also give you a swing rate, so you really can't calculate DPS, as it were, when you're looking at a sword unit, unlike you can with an archer unit, you know, where I can just blow all the rounds off and time it. And another thing that really matters with sword units is not all of the unit can hit enemy bots at the same time, because they're in each other's way. They kind of back up. So, but I do think it's quite interesting that, you know, that when the paladins got promoted, I thought, okay, they're obviously a step better than the men-at-arms, and so you can see that they are in some regard, but definitely not in the defensive area. And the slashing damage that the men-at-arms have, you know, does that make a difference? So that's one of the things I was looking at. Now, the last thing to take into consideration when looking at these cards is that doctrines also get calculated in. Like if you have a defensive doctrine of some kind, that will reflect in these cards. Now, my defensive doctrines, or my doctrines on my men-at-arms, are actually kind of not very good. Mostly greens and a couple of blues. The paladins are all blues. I've got no epic doctrines on the paladins. So you could, in fact, make them a little better with doctrines. The other thing is that obviously you can add another 3% in slashing defense, because I don't have that final slashing unit tree thing in there. But I mean, it doesn't change anything for our purposes, because all three versions will get that extra 3%. So moving on, what we're going to do next is we're going to look at what does the veterancy trees, what, you know, talent pool, talent points get you. And so let's take a look at that, because that is important. So I went into each individual unit tree and I pulled out the stats that wouldn't appear on the unit card. So these are all things that are part of that unit tree. They also don't include any doctrines you might put on there. So if we're looking at paladins here, the first thing you're going to see is that it has a minus 10 per second to battle prayer. So if you go up the line I went up, that happens. The other thing that you should know is that the paladins take an additional 20% damage if they get hit from the rear. And I can attest to this, because I actually caught a paladin unit facing away from me with my iron caps, and I charged into the back, and I was using a glaive at the time, so I hit the damage buff, and we wiped him, and I was pretty shocked. But that was quite a while ago. But that does exist, so just be advised, you have this great big gaping hole in your backside. Now, Battle Prayer also restores 5% health, you know, plus an additional 250 seconds for 15 seconds. It has an additional 12% crit value, and then it gives you another 130 block if you go up those trees. Now the thing is you don't know what your base block is, so you know, take it with a grain of salt. I have no idea what the base block is. Now the charge cooldown is minus 10 seconds, and then of course you have these 3 ratings: attack, defense, and speed. Those are not ratings I assign. Those are ratings that the game assigns, and you can see those if you go into their unit tree and you click on this button here. Now this is a screenshot, but if you hover your mouse over each one of these little points here, it'll give you a rating. And so paladins have attack of 74, defense of 101, and a speed of 44, right? So anyway, the next thing we're going to look at is the men-at-arms defensive build. So right off the top it says cannot be stunned in shield formation by normal attacks, right? And of course they get a shield formation. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee. So, and then it says block status maintained while attacking. That's in the center tree. And then plus 50 all defensive is also in that center tree. Now it also has a heal, 250 for 15 seconds. Now it doesn't heal anybody around him, and it doesn't get that extra 5% to itself. Total, it's like 3750, I think, somewhere in there. Now it also gets some serious bonuses that the paladins don't get. It gets a minus 10% damage if attacked from the rear. So the paladins get a plus 20%. So they get hammered if they get hit from the rear, whereas the men-at-arms defensive build, they get a bit of a damage reduction if they get hit from the rear. They also get a minus 20% damage from ranged attacks. And then they get a plus 10% damage while in shield formation. So when they're sitting in their shield wall formation, they get plus 10% to their damage. Now this made me decide to play them defensively like a shield wall, see if that would work. And I got footage of that coming up. So they get another block 130, and again they get an attack of 78, a defense of 120, and a speed of 44. Now that defense of 120 is interesting because the Imperial Spear Guards have the same defensive rating. So that I found, well, hey, maybe I should be using them more as a shield wall. They get bonuses to their attack while in that shield block formation. They get, they get minus 10% damage of attack from the rear. So maybe this is something I should be using inside a shield wall. And you'll see how that turned out. Okay, so the last thing we're going to look at is the men-at-arms attack build. So they get a passive shield bash. That's the end of their top line. How often does it work? I don't know. Does it do anything other than knock a bot back? No idea, but that's there. So again, I go down that center tree once and take the block status maintained while attacking. I go down the bottom tree far enough to get the shield formation. They get an 8% crit value, and they get a block of 130 as well. This is in that unit tree. So they have an attack rating of 110, and I'm wondering if that is because of the slashing value, right? So how that mechanic works, like when they stabby you, and what way they slash, I have no idea. So maybe they can, where there's a point where they can slash, they get to slash, and the paladins don't. So that's something I can think of, is that there's certain angles or whatever that they'll poke, and there's certain angles that they'll slash. But that's just conjecture. I have no idea. But for some reason, the game assigns them an attack value of 110. Now, for comparison, the Tserrigs have an attack value of 120, right? And the fact that their defensive value is almost the same as the Paladins, it's negligible, right? And finally, we're going to look at Cover Me. So the Men-at-Arms get the Cover Me command that the Paladins don't get. And to me, this is, if there's any reason, one single reason at all to put Men-at-Arms in your list over the Paladins, it's the Cover Me command. So, like, I use Cover Me command with an Assassination Doctrine. I don't put an Assassination Doctrine on a unit if it doesn't have Cover Me. I just don't think there's a point, right? Because Cover Me can allow you to suck an enemy player in and then hit that Cover Me command, and he's now going to deal with all your bots too. I mean, I'm sure you know this. And as a longsword player, which I usually play a lot, it's very difficult one-on-one to put out a huge amount of damage to take down an enemy player. especially if you're not using Sally Forth. So that's why I like the cover me command. So we're pretty much done here with the analytical portion of the video, and I'm going to move on into showing you examples. But the first thing I want to show you is the defense, the Men-at-Arms defensive build. Looking at these stats, it seems that you'd think, okay, they get benefits for being in the shield formation, right? So what you're going to see in the following videos is me trying to use that shield formation versus how I usually use Men-at-Arms and Paladins is kind of like a beefy charge unit. So I'm going to try and use the, you know, like cannot be stunned in shield formation by normal attacks, and you know, and get that going. So let's take a look at the first video here. Okay, so here's my first example. We're in DeSalle Fort. Remember, my intention to use these guys as much as possible in the shield formation. Now they get set in and they get charged by a couple Silver Era guys. Now you'll find actually that they stand up, they can hold a Silver Era charge pretty well. But a Gold Era unit will just run them over. A Shield Maiden unit came in the other day and just wrecked me. So I keep pushing forward, trying to get them to use that shield wall. And they're basically holding their own, but only against bots. Right, like there's no player in there doing dirty tricks to them. But they're also not getting kills because they're sitting there in the formation, so I got to keep pushing them forward. Then they get a kill, then they push them forward. So using them as that little shield formation, like they seem to be doing all right, but again, no one's knocked them down yet, and that does happen. They do get knocked down a lot. Now, I guess one of the utilities of this is that, okay, I can push forward like a little mini shield wall, but I can also charge, right? So you can see me coming up here, and I'm going to throw a charge down. Now, again, they've got that high 120 defense. It's like charging an Imperial Spear Guard unit. Now, bam, I hit this, and look at these pikes in here. And I didn't get wrecked. Now, I think I should have been wrecked, and I think the reason I didn't get wrecked is because if you're a pike player, and you probably know this, but if you don't, you should. If you put pikes at the base of the stairs and your pike heads clip into the stairs, they don't hit the bots. Because this has happened to me a couple of times where I've been on the base of the stairs with pikes, and I've been run over because guys just ignore the pikes because the pike heads are clipped into the stairs. So again, I got that nice range protection bonus, so I'm not getting a lot of damage from those ranged arrows. I'm still drinking coffee. And then I charge out. Now I'm using Nightly Vows, and that gets them out real quicker. Charges them real fast. So, I mean, if you're using them as a sort of like a combination charge unit, half shield unit, seems to be okay, but remember, I haven't really been challenged by players in this particular example. Fast forward about a minute and a half, and I'm around the corner in the same fort, and I've overextended myself. There used to be a bunch of shield walls here, and they all took off. Now watch this short sword. He's going to come in trying to ulti me. I counter him, and I try to go in with the cover me command, but I get wrecked by that those archers and that musket there. So I go off the cover me command, and I'm stuck. I can't turn around. I can't, because if I turn around, I'm going to kick it in the butt, so I basically have to die in place. Now, one thing you should notice, however, is that they're kind of taking their normal attacks alright. It's just when they come in and roll in with everything else that they get wrecked. But, yeah, definitely a mistake on my part. I went too far forward, and I allowed a hero to get in on me. But again, you'll notice his normal attacks didn't do much, but his ultimates would rip me apart. And I think part of it is because, like, you have all 28 bots in this little massive concentration. And unlike a shield wall, like with a Shieldtron, you don't have that benefit of being all around, right? You've got your flanks wide open. That's one of the detractors of that formation. Now here, I think I'm good. I'm inside a pike wall, or inside pikes, and I've got my flanks seem to be covered because there's like a staircase there. And again, I come to make a mistake. I come forward, and I allow the heroes to wreck me, and I allow everything. I think I take a cannon shot actually in the face here, and that's another problem. Because you're so concentrated, the cannon shot just takes you apart. So I get knocked down by the spear, and then the gray hairs charge, and whatever hell hits me, and I'm dead instantly, right? So this is a problem with that. You have that high defensive value, but cannons and shit like that, just and ultis, because you're so compact, they take you out really quick. Anyway, so I continue on into White Elk Fort. Now, at this point, I probably should have charged, but I didn't. I was just going in with the pikes, and I'm trying to like cover them again. I'm actively trying to use this wall. I think this is probably actually my first match where I really concentrate on trying to just use the wall. We come around this corner, we're getting ready to cap the final point, obviously. Now, as you can see, I'm not taking much damage from the arrows. That's nice. And then, of course, all the other walls start to line up. I took a little Scorpio hit there and didn't get damaged. Now I think, oh, hey, I'm a circle. I can be on the right-hand side and cover this guy's flank. So that's why I came over there. That looks pretty cool, actually. But I see this wall up here, so okay, I'm going to go and cover this wall again. Or, yeah, this wall's right flank. And I think I switch here to the center. And we start taking falconetti fire. So I decide to move. That guy missed. But you can see that I think I'm taking so much cannon fire because of, you know, I'm this big, beautiful target, right? I'm not like look at these stalwarts are all crouched down. They're not really easy to hit, but your big shield wall, like you may as well just put a target on your back. And I just keep getting hammered. And then the heroes come in and wreck you. So I think part of the yeah, you have that high defense, but you are a big target. You know, they want to take you out, and so that's what I'm thinking is a detractor. Is that if you get in that shield wall, oh, that's a big thing I can shoot at with my cannon and do a lot of damage. Yeah, and another detractor would be the fact that you're such a compact target. Your flanks are really easy to get around, and as you sit in that formation, heroes can take you down. So it's really difficult to use it as a wall, and I really don't think it's worthwhile. Now, if you wanted to use them sort of as a charge unit with a high defense value, so you can charge in and get stuck in, right? So if I was going to use them, I would say, hey, let's charge in, let's get stuck in, let's use the cover me command to take on other heroes. But I certainly wouldn't use it as a wall. I don't think it's got too many things that can go wrong, right? Like it's a big target, so it takes cannon fire. It's a short target, so you can, or a narrow target, so you can get around it easy. It's not like a pike unit that has pikes sticking out, where if a hero comes in and tries to ulti them like a short sword, you know, he's going to take severe damage as he gets in through the pikes. Whereas with these guys, he comes right up to him, bam, knocks him down, right? So there's a lot of detractors to trying to use these guys as if they were a wall. So I would continue to play them how I used to play them, which is I would use them strictly as a charge unit that I can get stuck in with, if I had to, right? So I would put myself in a position where I wasn't in a wall. Like I would play the corner, right? Wait till I see an opportunity, come around the corner, charge, and then maybe retreat, charge again. But as that kind of play, there are better units that do that. So I would charge in, I would get stuck in, I would pop the heal, and it'd be in it to win it kind of thing, right? Now, in the in it to win it kind of scenario, I still think paladins are better at it than the defensive men-at-arms. Now, even though the defensive men-at-arms do have a higher defense value or defensive values than the paladins, I think the paladins, they do have, you know, the better heal. They do have a higher amount of health. So those are things that make you kind of go, which way, you know? So I think, like I said, the only reason to keep the defensive men-at-arms in is if you like that cover me command. But other than that, I think that's pretty much says it all. So let's now go and take a look at the men-at-arms in my attack build. So now we're in Valley Fortress, and this is where I start using the tactics I told you about. Like, I'm going to be playing in a corner. So this guy charges, I get out of his way. I use Nightly Vows to get out of his way quickly, and then I use the remainder of the Nightly Vows to charge him. Alright. He didn't really take a lot of damage, but I'm going to go around the corner, pass through the heal point, and I'm going to set up on the other corner. Because basically, I like to use these guys as foot cavalry, right? And that's one of the reasons I take that shield formation, is because I can maneuver them quite easily. You know, I can park them in tight areas that they can't really get looked at. So I park him, and I go up here to look at this melee. Is there anything here I want to do? And I see those guys away at the end. And I know I can take him. Look at these other men-at-arms. Like, they're everywhere. They're bloody everywhere. So I come in, I hit the charge. I'm in this wide formation so I can grab everybody. And I hit the muskets, both musket units. Then I hit the cover me command, and I rip through them like white on rice, right? Now, I'm taking arrow fire from the wall, so I'm getting out of there. I don't have a personal heal on the unit, obviously, and so I send them back to get health, right? This is not an in-it-to-win-it unit as far as I'm concerned. This is a charge, get your kills, get out as fast as you can. So I'm now healed up, and I see over to my left, I'm going to see another men-at-arms defensive unit. And I want to see how they do one-on-one. So I charge it, regardless of tactical situation. Now, the charge doesn't quite hit. I don't hit it straight on charge, so I don't even think you can count the charge damage as being in here. But you'll note that I do beat them, right? And this is an elite defensive unit. And I've even got muskets hammering, right? So that's probably a lot of that is the unit tree defenses. So now, I do make a mistake here. This spearman comes in on the left. I've got cover me going, so the guys are going after him. And instead of following him to the right like I should have, I decided I'm going to take down this musket unit. And I foolishly stand in front of them and get wrecked. But you can even see, even after I die, I mean, they're racking up the kills. But I should have gone to the right and taken down that spear player. Now this is an example of cover me done right. So this is the very beginning of Westwood. It just started. I just got myself on, and this guy jumps me. So I clash with shields into both of them to knock them both down, and then my bots kill him. Basically, I don't kill him. My bots do again. And then I come after this guy, and he decides he has had enough of that, so he takes off. All right. But then this archer's coming in. Now I can deal with the archer just by not letting him shoot at me into my back. So I just sit there and keep my guys pointed down. I do flex out a little bit because I think I might take his unit out, and then I see those cavalry coming, and I retreat. Right, discretion being the better part of valor. I pop my Nightly Vows to get them out of there as quick as I can. So this cav guy comes up, takes the point. The archer guy is still shooting at me, but I don't care because I have a high defensive value, even though they're men-at-arms attack unit. The cavalry unit here decides he's going to fuck off. He doesn't stay. And when he leaves, I go back out and challenge the archer. Now, it's really hard because these guys this is a kitey unit, and I am definitely not a unit that can, or this is a kitey player, and I'm definitely not someone that can chase him down. So I push toward him, but I'm actually going to go for his unit. So I switch immediately. I switch to the wide formation because I want to hit him all, and I charge him. So, because the reason I took his unit out is because I don't want these guys shooting at me while I'm trying to deal with the player. So then I come back at him, class of shields, and knock him down. If my unit was with me, he would be dead, but he's not because the unit was not as quick as me. And so now we're just going to play Ring Around the Rosie for the next 10 minutes. But he can't do anything, right? I can't cap the point, but he can't do anything. And I just keep trying to keep my bots facing him so he can't kill them. Now another player comes in, and that ultimately is what chases him off. But obviously I can't chase a guy on a horseback with an infantry unit. So that's pretty much all the video I have to show you. So now I just kind of want to go over some quick pros and cons. So some of the pros are it's got both slashing and piercing. How that works as a mechanic, I'm not sure, but that causes it, I think, for the game to assign it a 110 attack rating. It's got a 99 defense rating, even though again, I'm not sure why Paladins have like a 101 defense rating, and these guys get 99 when these guys have more piercing and slashing defense. Now, maybe that's because the Paladins start with a higher base block. I'm not sure. Now, I'm saying they can get stuck in with purple and lower units, but I'm only saying that because I don't think of them as a stuck in melee unit to unit type unit, but the game does, right? And because the game, if you notice, they have that melee fighter, right? Caveat. So, but I don't see them that way because they don't have a self heal, right? So I prefer not to use them that way. I use them as I charge in, stick around for a minute or two, and get out. But you can get stuck in, I think, with like a silver area unit. You probably recommend and a soft purple unit like Zergs, right? Like Zergs have that high attack rating, but their defense rating is quite a bit lower. They only have like 2/3 the defense of the men at arms. Now they've got a good charge cooldown already. I imagine the Doctrine would make it even better, and of course they have that cover me that I really like. So those are the pros of the men at arms. One thing I didn't put down here is they also have like 240 leadership. I think that's pretty decent, and of course, if you take the right build, they get the shield formation, which I like because I can maneuver, and I use it in a like you didn't see me use it for charging, but I do use it for charging as well. Usually when I'm trying to get into like a harder unit, I usually only use the wide formation when I'm trying to catch a lot of bots, right? And usually when I'm trying to catch like archers, right? But if I was going to charge like a shield wall or something like that, I would probably want to concentrate my bots in one spot and hit the wall in one spot. So just it's situational, and so I do use the shield formation for a charge. Now let's talk about some cons. As I stated, there's no self heal. So that's why I don't like to use it as a init to init unit, even though you probably can and get away with it. But I don't personally like to do that. So you can get run over quite easily by gold units, and this goes for the defensive paladins as well. If the shield maiden said rip me apart last week or in a guide, and I'm really reaching for cons too that I'm thinking of because they have a lower crit value than paladins, and they have lower defense than men at arms defensive build. But that's the only cons I can really see. And the way maybe that's because the way I use these guys is I don't try to put them in a wall like I was doing with the paladins, but that's pretty much all I can see for cons. Now, moving on to doing the final comparison of all three units, I almost want to say it's down to your personal playstyle. Now, the gamer in me is screaming to myself, the paladin must be better, right? Because it is the promotional unit from the men at arms, so it must be better. But it's almost like they took the whatever optimization points they use to balance units in the game and shifted them around to get a bit to get a side grade for the paladin, right? It does different things than the other two. And I mean, just looking at the raw stats, you're kind of wondering to yourself, like, well wait a minute, maybe the for sheer defensiveness, the men at arms defensive build is better, but for sheer attack build, the men at arms attack build is better, and the paladin is the amalgamation of the two kind of styles balanced out. But I'm not sure if that's how it goes. I mean, because if you look, you're like, well, who wants a 20% damage increase into your butt if you get hit in the rear, right? So I think it all comes down to style and which abilities you want to use, right? There's no reason why you can't use the defensive build with that attack strategies I was using. In fact, that's how I used to use them. I found that trying to use the defensive men-at-arms build, like it looks like the stats say it's supposed to be used, like in a shield formation. It just doesn't work. The game mechanics does not allow it to work that way. Because you get in the shield formation and someone's going to knock them down, someone's going to shoot a cannon at you. Like they are tanky. Like, I mean, they'll take a couple cannon rounds, but ultimately, I mean, you're gonna get, if you sit there and take it, you're gonna take it till you're dead, right? So I just don't think using them in a shield formation to tank damage is a worthwhile use. Now, using them to get stuck in after a charge, that's obviously good because, I mean, like I said, they take less damage from the rear, and you know, they have high defensiveness, and they only got like, you know, 1,000 less health than the paladins do, and they still have that self heal. So, you know, it's almost like they're better in some regards than the paladins, right? And that's why I'm kind of confused about why the paladins are considered a promotion. Now, through using them, I know that the paladins are badass, but I don't think I've used them enough to state with no reservations that yes, they're badass and this is why, after going back and looking at the men-at-arms again. So do I think that if you were to look at if you had the choice between paladin and men-at-arms, and you had the leadership to take the paladins over the men-at-arms, yes, I think so, because I do have lots of success with them, and I think that they can do the job of a stuck-in unit just as good as the men-at-arms in defense, and they do have that heal that heals everyone around them. So, but you know, it's almost like I'm succumbing to that they must be better attitude, right? They must be better because they're the promotional unit. Now, for the men-at-arms attack, I like that cover me. How much does that passive shield bash do? I don't know, but I think it's going to come down to your personal play style, right? And whether or not you think cover me is good enough or not. And then, of course, the lower leadership costs also help if you're running on like 700 leadership and you need to drop 15 points. This shows you that you're not really losing all that much if you drop from paladin to men-at-arms, right? So my final, I guess, take on this is I think it is worthwhile to have both in your barracks. If for nothing else, then you want to change your playstyle, right? Because they do use three. You can use, well, two different playstyles with them, and the cover me I think is worthwhile changing as well. So I guess that's it there. I think you should have a men-at-arms build, and I think you should make it the attack build. And then the reason that is because if you do want to use yourself as a stuck-in unit, you may as well just use the paladins, unless you have a build that you know you're 15 points short. At that point, then okay, defensive men-at-arms build. So anyway, thanks for watching this overly long video, and please like and subscribe and tell your friends. Have a good one.